Welcome to the world of science fiction, where extraordinary tales and boundless imagination come to life. Enjoy the story and don't forget to subscribe.
The sterile white walls of the research facility hummed faintly with energy as Draven walked down the corridor toward Lab 7A. His footsteps echoed in time with his heartbeat, a rhythm of unease he couldn't shake since being assigned here 6 months ago. He adjusted his lab coat nervously as he approached the reinforced glass door that separated him from his latest subject. Inside sat Althea, a prisoner unlike any he had ever encountered. Her translucent skin shimmered faintly under the artificial lighting, shifting hues like an iridescent pearl. Her eyes were large and hauntingly beautiful, glowing softly with an otherworldly light that seemed almost hypnotic. She was humanoid in form but undeniably alien in essence. Draven hesitated before entering. He had read her file countless times, captured during a covert mission on Zoreth by human forces seeking advanced biological technology. Her species was known for their unique emotional resonance, an ability that allowed them to manipulate their surroundings through heightened feelings. It was this ability that made her valuable and dangerous. Draven, came a sharp voice from behind him. He turned quickly to see Captain Leora standing there, her uniform pristine as always. Her dark eyes bore into him like twin lasers. "Have you administered today's dose?" she asked curtly. Draven swallowed hard. "Not yet." "Then get on with it," she snapped. "The council wants results." He nodded reluctantly and entered the lab. Althea looked up as he approached, her expression weary but defiant. She was restrained by energy cuffs that glowed faintly around her wrists and ankles, a precaution against her abilities. "You don't have to do this," she said softly, her voice melodic yet tinged with pain. Draven paused mid-step, caught off guard by her words. "I don't have a choice." "There's always a choice," she replied, her glowing eyes locking onto his. He felt a pang of guilt but quickly masked it as he prepared the syringe containing today's dose of desire serum, a concoction designed to amplify emotions beyond natural limits. The serum was meant to push subjects into extreme states for study purposes. As he injected it into her arm, she winced but didn't cry out. Instead, she closed her eyes tightly as waves of emotion began coursing through her body. Draven watched helplessly as tears streamed down her face, tears not of sadness but overwhelming desire and longing for freedom, for connection, for something beyond this sterile prison. "I'm sorry," he whispered under his breath. She opened her eyes again and looked at him with an intensity that made his chest tighten. "Help me." Her words lingered in his mind long after he left the lab that day. Later that evening in his quarters, Draven sat staring at his computer screen filled with data from today's session. He couldn't focus, all he could think about was Althea's plea for help. His thoughts were interrupted by an incoming message on his private communicator. A message from Captain Leora ordering him to increase tomorrow's dose significantly. He clenched his fists in frustration. How much more could she endure before breaking completely? And what would happen if she did? For months now, he had been grappling with doubts about this project. The ethics of exploiting sentient beings for scientific gain weighed heavily on him. But tonight felt different, tonight felt like a turning point. He made up his mind. If there was any way to save Althea from this nightmare, he would find it, even if it meant risking everything he had worked for. As he began formulating a plan in secret, he couldn't shake one thought from his mind. There really was always a choice, and it was time for him to make his own. Draven spent the next few hours meticulously erasing his digital tracks and encrypting sensitive data regarding Project Zenith, the codename for Althea's captivity. He worked swiftly, driven by a newfound resolve and a growing sense of urgency. Captain Leora's orders were clear: tomorrow's dose was to be the highest yet, pushing Althea to the brink of her emotional capacity. He knew he couldn't let that happen. He needed help. There was only one person he could trust, even if their relationship was strained beyond repair, his younger brother, Rin. Rin was everything Draven wasn't: rebellious, impulsive, and fiercely independent. A brilliant hacker with a knack for getting into places he shouldn't, Rin had made a name for himself as a thorn in the side of corporate empires and oppressive regimes. Draven hadn't spoken to Rin in almost 5 years, not since a bitter argument over their diverging paths in life. Draven had chosen the path of science and order, while Rin had embraced chaos and freedom. But desperate times called for desperate measures. He accessed a secure communication channel and sent a coded message to Rin's known alias. It was a long shot, but he hoped his brother would still recognize the emergency signal they had devised as children. Hours passed with no response. Draven began to lose hope as dawn approached. He was about to abandon his plan when a reply finally flickered onto his screen. "Long time, brother. What kind of trouble have you gotten yourself into now?" Draven felt a surge of relief mixed with apprehension. He quickly explained the situation: Althea, Project Zenith, and Captain Leora's escalating experiments. He didn't sugarcoat anything, laying bare the moral crisis that had consumed him. Rin's response was immediate. "Give me the coordinates. I'll see what I can do." Draven hesitated. Bringing Rin into this was a huge risk, but he had no other options. He transmitted the coordinates of the research facility along with schematics of the security systems. "This place is a fortress," Rin replied after a moment. "But fortresses have weaknesses. I'll need access to the internal network. Can you provide that?" Draven knew this was a dangerous request. Granting Rin access to the network could expose the entire facility and put him in mortal danger. But he had come too far to back down now. "I can create a temporary access point," Draven typed back. "But you have to promise me you'll be careful." "Careful is my middle name," Rin joked. "Send the access codes." "And Draven, thanks. I thought you'd forgotten about family." Draven felt a warmth spread through his chest at Rin's words. Maybe this could be more than just a rescue mission, maybe it could be a chance to rebuild their broken relationship. As Draven prepared the access codes, he decided to visit Althea one last time before Rin arrived. He found her sitting in the same spot, her eyes closed in meditation. The effects of yesterday's dose were still visible in her pale complexion and trembling hands. He approached cautiously, unsure of what to say. "Rin is coming," he whispered. "He's going to help us." Althea opened her eyes slowly, a glimmer of hope flickering within them. "Rin?" she asked softly. "My brother," Draven explained. "He's resourceful." She nodded slowly, then looked at him with an intensity that sent shivers down his spine. "My people, we are connected by more than just blood," she said. "We share a bond, an emotional resonance that allows us to feel each other's pain and joy." Draven frowned. "I know. It's why you're here. But it's more than just manipulation," she insisted. "It's empathy. We can sense the true intentions of others." She paused, then reached out and gently touched his hand, a forbidden gesture that sent a jolt of energy through him. "I sense a darkness in this place," she said, her voice barely audible. "A corruption that goes deeper than just these experiments." Draven's heart pounded in his chest. He had always suspected that Project Zenith was part of something bigger, something more sinister. But he had never voiced his suspicions, afraid of what he might uncover. "What do you mean?" he asked, his voice trembling slightly. "There are others," she replied. "Others who seek to exploit our abilities for their own gain, people who will stop at nothing to achieve their goals." She closed her eyes again, her body trembling with emotion. "Be careful, Draven," she whispered. "You are walking into a web of deceit, and you may not like what you find." Her words hung in the air like a warning as Draven left the lab, his mind racing with newfound fears and uncertainties. He had thought he was simply rescuing a prisoner from unethical experiments. But now he realized that he was stumbling into something far more dangerous, a conspiracy that could threaten the entire galaxy. As he walked back to his quarters to await Rin's arrival, he knew one thing for sure: he was no longer just a scientist following orders. He was a pawn in a much larger game, and he had no idea what the rules were. The comm buzzed on Draven's wrist, a coded sequence he recognized instantly. "The Eagle has landed," Rin's voice crackled through the device. "Ready when you are, little brother." Draven took a deep breath, steeling his nerves. He glanced at the access panel disguised as a ventilation grate in the wall, the one he had spent hours calibrating for Rin's entry. "Acknowledged," he replied, his voice barely a whisper. "Initiating sequence now." He deactivated the surveillance cameras in his section of the lab, a risky move that would surely be noticed soon. Then, he opened the access panel, revealing a narrow service duct that led directly to the facility's core network hub. A few tense minutes later, Rin emerged from the duct, covered in grime and grinning mischievously. He wasn't alone. Behind him stood a woman with short, cropped hair and sharp, intelligent eyes. She carried herself with a quiet confidence that spoke of experience and skill. "Draven, meet Kira," Rin said, gesturing to the woman. "She's our ride out of here." "Nice to meet you," Kira said, extending a gloved hand. Her grip was firm. "Rin tells me you're the brains of this operation." "And you're the muscle and the wheels," Draven replied, managing a weak smile. "Something like that," Kira said, her eyes scanning the corridor. "Let's get moving. We don't have much time." Draven led them quickly towards Lab 7A, his heart pounding in his chest. Every second felt like an eternity as they navigated the labyrinthine corridors of the facility, avoiding patrols and surveillance drones. When they reached the lab, Draven swiped his access card, deactivating the outer security field. Inside, Althea was waiting, her eyes wide with anticipation. "It's time," Draven said, his voice trembling slightly. Rin stepped forward, pulling out a small device from his bag. "Let's get these cuffs off you." He pressed the device against the energy cuffs, emitting a high-frequency pulse that disrupted the energy field. The cuffs fell to the floor with a clang. Althea flexed her wrists, her expression a mixture of relief and apprehension. "Can you walk?" Draven asked. "I'm weak," she said, her voice barely audible. "The injections." "We'll support you," Kira said, stepping forward to help Althea. As they moved towards the exit, an alarm blared through the facility, shattering the tense silence. "They know," Rin said, his eyes narrowing. "Looks like our time is up." "We have to move faster," Draven said, his mind racing. "There's a maintenance tunnel that leads to the outer perimeter. It's our best shot." They hurried through the corridors, the alarms growing louder and closer. Security drones swarmed around them, firing energy blasts that sizzled past their heads. Rin pulled out a small EMP grenade and tossed it at the drones, disabling them temporarily. "That'll buy us some time," he shouted over the din, but not much. As they reached the maintenance tunnel, a group of security guards blocked their path. "Hold them off," Rin yelled, drawing a blaster pistol. "We'll cover you." Rin and Kira engaged the guards in a fierce firefight, their blaster fire echoing through the tunnel. Draven helped Althea through the narrow passage, his heart pounding in his chest. "I can help," Althea said, her eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. "Let me." "No, it's too dangerous," Draven said, his voice laced with concern. "You're still recovering." "I have to," she insisted. "They're going to be overwhelmed." Before Draven could stop her, Althea closed her eyes and focused her energy. A wave of emotional energy emanated from her, washing over the security guards. They stumbled and swayed, their faces contorted with confusion and fear. "Now!" Althea gasped, her body trembling. "Go now." Draven didn't hesitate. He helped Althea through the tunnel, leaving Rin and Kira to finish off the disoriented guards. They emerged from the tunnel into a deserted maintenance yard, the escape ship waiting for them in the distance. But their path was blocked by Captain Leora, who stood there with a squad of elite soldiers. "Going somewhere, Dr. Draven," she said, her voice cold and menacing. "I'm afraid I can't let you do that." "It's over, Leora," Draven said, his voice surprisingly steady. "What you're doing is wrong." "Wrong?" she scoffed. "I'm serving the greater good. These aliens are a threat to humanity. They must be controlled." "They're not a threat," Draven argued. "They're just different." "Enough talk," Leora snapped. "Take them down." The soldiers opened fire, energy blasts whizzing past them. Rin and Kira emerged from the tunnel, joining the fray. Althea, despite her weakened state, unleashed another wave of emotional energy, throwing the soldiers into disarray. But the lingering effects of the desire injections made it difficult for her to control her abilities. Her emotions surged uncontrollably, threatening to overwhelm her. "Althea, stop!" Draven shouted. "You're losing control." But it was too late. Althea's powers spiraled out of control, creating a chaotic vortex of emotional energy that threatened to consume everyone around her. As the world around them dissolved into chaos, Draven knew that they were running out of time. They had to escape, or they would all be lost. The escape ship, a sleek and agile vessel named Maverick's Revenge, soared through the darkness of space, pursued by Captain Leora's fleet. Kira expertly navigated the ship, dodging laser blasts and weaving through asteroid fields with a skill that left Draven breathless. Rin sat in the co-pilot's seat, his eyes fixed on the navigation charts as he plotted their course. "We need to lose them in the Orion Nebula," he said, his voice calm despite the chaos around them. "It's our best chance." Althea lay on a makeshift bed in the rear of the ship, her body still reeling from the aftermath of her emotional outburst. Draven sat beside her, holding her hand and trying to reassure her that everything would be okay. But as they flew deeper into the nebula, the ship was buffeted by turbulent winds and radiation storms. The instruments began to malfunction, and Kira's voice grew tense. "We're losing power," she warned. "We need to find shelter soon." Rin pointed to a small, uncharted planet on the edge of the nebula. "That's our best bet. It's not ideal, but it's better than being caught out here." The ship limped towards the planet, pursued by Leora's relentless fleet. As they entered the planet's atmosphere, the ship shuddered and groaned, protesting the strain. Finally, they landed on a barren, rocky plain, the engine sputtering to silence. The group breathed a collective sigh of relief as they assessed their situation. "We can't stay here for long," Rin said, his eyes scanning the horizon. "Leora will find us eventually." Draven nodded. "We need to get Althea to safety. She can't withstand another attack." Althea, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. "I can help," she said, her voice weak but determined. "My people, we have allies. If we can reach them, they can protect us." Rin's eyes lit up. "That's the break we need." "Where are they?" Althea hesitated, her eyes clouding over. I don't know. The injections, they affected my memories. But I remember a name, Illyria. She's a leader among my people. If we can find her, she'll help us." Draven's mind raced. "We need to get that information out there. If we can expose what's happening at the facility, we might have a chance to stop Leora and her backers." Rin nodded. "I can hack into the galactic networks. But we need a secure location to do it from." Kira stood up, her expression resolute. "I know a place. An old rebel base on the edge of the galaxy. It's abandoned, but it should be safe enough for us to regroup and plan our next move." As they prepared to leave the planet, Draven couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. He glanced around, but there was nothing but the desolate landscape. "Let's move," Rin said, his voice low and urgent. "We don't have much time before Leora finds us." The group boarded the ship once more, ready to face whatever dangers lay ahead. But as they lifted off into the sky, Draven noticed something odd, a small, unmarked drone hovering in the distance, watching them. "Rin," he whispered urgently. "We have company." Rin's eyes narrowed. "That's not one of Leora's drones. It's something else, something more sinister." The drone vanished into the clouds, leaving them with more questions than answers. Who was behind it? And what did they want? As they flew into the unknown, Draven realized that their journey was far from over. They had escaped the facility, but they were now hunted by forces beyond their wildest imagination. The Maverick's revenge soared through the galaxy, pursued by Captain Leora's relentless fleet. But they were not alone. Other forces were stirring, drawn by the whispers of Althea's unique abilities and the secrets she held. In the shadows, a mysterious figure watched their progress, intrigued by the potential of this alien prisoner and the humans who dared to defy the system. The hunt was on, and Draven, Rin, Kira, and Althea were just pawns in a much larger game, a game where the stakes were higher than they could ever imagine. The Maverick's revenge finally reached the coordinates of the old rebel base, a desolate moon orbiting a gas giant on the fringes of known space. The base, once a bustling hub of resistance, was now a ghost town, its hangars empty and its corridors silent. Kira landed the ship in one of the dilapidated hangars, the echoes of their arrival bouncing off the rusted walls. "Welcome to Sanctuary," she said, her voice tinged with a hint of nostalgia. "It's not much, but it's home." The group disembarked, their footsteps echoing through the deserted base. Draven could feel the weight of history in the air, the hopes and dreams of rebels who had fought and died for freedom. "We need to get Althea settled in," Kira said, leading them towards the living quarters. "Then we can start planning our next move." They found a small, functional room for Althea, equipped with basic amenities. Draven stayed with her, tending to her wounds and offering words of comfort. "We're safe here," he said, his voice soft. "You can rest now." Althea looked at him, her eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you, Draven," she said. "You've risked so much for me." "It was the right thing to do," he replied. "I couldn't stand by and watch you suffer." He paused, then added, "Althea, what did you mean when you said there were others seeking to exploit your abilities?" Althea's expression darkened. "There are factions within the galaxy who believe that emotional resonance can be weaponized," she said. "They want to control my people, to use our abilities for their own twisted purposes." Draven's blood ran cold. "Who are these factions?" "I don't know their names," Althea replied. "But I know they're powerful, and they're ruthless." Just then, Rin burst into the room, his face grim. "We have a problem," he said. "I've been trying to access the galactic networks, but something's blocking me. It's like there's a firewall around the entire system." "That's impossible," Draven said. "No one has that kind of power." "Someone does," Rin insisted. "And they're watching us. I can feel it." Suddenly, the base's alarms blared to life, shattering the tense silence. "We're under attack," Kira shouted over the comms. "Leora's here." The group rushed to the main control room, where they found Kira monitoring the security cameras. Leora's fleet was closing in on the moon, their ships bristling with weapons. "They're not taking any chances," Kira said, her voice grim. "They're going to destroy the base." "We have to fight back," Rin said, his eyes blazing with determination. "We can't let them win." Draven looked at Althea, his heart heavy. "This is it," he said. "The moment of truth." Althea nodded, her expression resolute. "I'm ready," she said. "I won't let them control me." The rebels prepared for battle, knowing that they were outnumbered and outgunned. But they were determined to defend their freedom, no matter the cost. As Leora's forces stormed the base, a fierce firefight erupted. Rin and Kira fought valiantly, repelling wave after wave of enemy soldiers. Draven used his scientific knowledge to improvise defensive measures, setting traps and disrupting the enemy's communications. But the rebels were slowly being overwhelmed. Leora's forces were relentless, and their numbers seemed endless. Just when it seemed like all hope was lost, Althea stepped forward, her eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. She unleashed a wave of emotional energy, targeting the enemy soldiers' deepest fears and insecurities. The soldiers faltered, their confidence shattered, and their will to fight evaporated. But the effort took a toll on Althea. The lingering effects of the desire injections made it difficult for her to control her powers. Her emotions surged uncontrollably, threatening to consume her. Leora saw her opportunity. She targeted Althea with a powerful energy weapon, hoping to neutralize her once and for all. Draven saw what was happening and threw himself in front of Althea, taking the full force of the blast. He collapsed to the ground, his body racked with pain. Draven! Althea cried out, her voice filled with anguish. Leora sneered. Fool, she said. You sacrificed yourself for nothing. But she was wrong. Draven's sacrifice had given Althea the strength she needed to control her powers. She focused her energy, amplifying her emotional resonance to an unprecedented level. A wave of pure, unadulterated hope emanated from her, washing over the battlefield. The enemy soldiers, touched by her hope, turned against Leora, their loyalty shattered. Leora, realizing that she had lost, tried to escape. But Rin intercepted her, his blaster pistol raised. It's over, Leora, he said, his voice cold and unforgiving. You're going to pay for what you've done. He fired, and Leora fell to the ground, defeated. With Leora's defeat, the remaining enemy forces surrendered. The rebels had won, but at a great cost. Draven lay dying in Althea's arms, his lifeblood ebbing away. I'm sorry, he whispered, his voice barely audible. I wish I could have done more. You did enough, Althea said, tears streaming down her face. You saved me, you saved us all. Draven smiled weakly. Then, it was worth it. He closed his eyes and took his last breath, his sacrifice forever etched in the hearts of those he had saved. In the aftermath of the battle, the rebels mourned their fallen comrade. They honored Draven's memory by dedicating themselves to fighting for freedom and justice throughout the galaxy. Althea, now free from the control of her captors, vowed to use her powers for good, helping those in need and promoting peace and understanding between different species. Rin and Kira continued their fight against oppression, traveling from planet to planet, inspiring others to stand up for their rights. And so, the story of Althea, the alien beauty prisoner, and Draven, the human scientist who saved her, became a legend, a testament to the power of hope, courage, and sacrifice in the face of overwhelming odds. The price of freedom was high, but it was a price worth paying.